It's another exciting day here in Algebra 2. We are going to be spending the next 2 days solving quadratic equations using various methods. The first one we are going to look at is factoring, which should be a breeze since we just wrapped up our previous unit on factoring. So the steps for solving by factoring are to rewrite your equation in general form if it's not already. That means everything is on one side and your equation is equal to 0. You're going to factor most often using your X method. Sometimes you might need to use grouping or difference of squares. Once you have finished factoring, you're going to set each factor equal to 0 and solve. You will always end up with two solutions when you have a quadratic. Some of them might repeat, some of them might be negative, and they could also be rational or irrational. So starting with this first example A here, I need to move over the 24. So I have x squared plus 5x minus 24 equals 0. This is a trinomial. I'm going to set up with my x method. Negative 24 will go on the top. Positive 5 will go in the bottom. Two numbers that multiply to negative 24 and add to positive 5 are positive 8 and negative 3. A is 1, so I don't need to worry about dividing these. So that tells me that my two factors are x plus 8 and x minus 3. Now that I have factored, I need to set each of these factors equal to 0. So x plus 8 could be 0, or x minus 3 could be 0. Those are each just one-step equations. For this first one, you would subtract 8, and you get that x is negative 8. On the second one, you would add 3, and you get that x is positive 3. So there are your two solutions, negative 8 and positive 3. Moving on to B, I need to move a few things. I need to subtract 3 from both sides. I need to subtract 5x squared from both sides. And I need to add 12x. So we got a lot moving over here. 9x squared minus 5x squared is going to give us 4x squared plus 12x. 12 minus 3 is 9. And that is now all equal to 0. So I can set up my x method. 4 times 9 is 36, and B is 12. Two magic numbers that multiply to 36 and add to 12 are, forgive me, I did just notice a small error. I should be subtracting 12 here, not adding. So this would be minus, 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 and negative. Okay, so numbers that multiply to positive 36 and add to negative 12, that would be negative 6 and negative 6. A is 4, so I need to divide both of those by 4. Now, neither of those will divide evenly, but they will both reduce to negative 3 over 2. So I have x minus 3 over 2 and x minus 3 over 2. So in order to clear those fractions, what I would need to do is multiply both of them by my denominator. So this is going to be 2x minus 3 and 2x minus 3. Now that I have factored, I need to set each factor equal to 0. So that's going to be 2x minus 3 equals 0, or 2x minus 3 equals 0. Those are both two-step equations. I'm going to add 3, divide by 2, and I get 3 over 2. Add 3, divide by 2, I get 3 over 2. And so this is an example of what I was talking about where you have a repeating solution. So you still work out two solutions, but they repeat. All right, let's move on to C. This one, off the bat, you might be tempted to distribute and start combining like terms, but if you take a closer look at what is in these two parentheses, 4 minus x, that's actually a common factor. This is kind of like something that has been factored by grouping, and you are on the second step. So I can factor out 4 minus x, and that will leave me with 3 minus 2x. Now I have factored, I just need to set each parentheses equal to 0 and solve. So 4 minus x could be 0, which if I just move the x over, that would mean x is equal to 4. And then on this one, if I moved the x over, 3 is equal to 2x, and I divide both sides by 2, I get that x is 3 over 2. And there are my two solutions. That one was nice and easy. Looking at D, this one's not a trinomial. It is one of our specials, a difference of two squares. So I need to factor it with a minus b times a plus b. And set each of those individual parentheses equal to 0. 4y minus 11 equals 0. 4y plus 11 equals 0. So 2 steps, I would add 11 and divide by 4, so 11 fourths. And then on this one, subtract 11 and divide by 4, and we get negative 11 fourths. All right, that is factoring. Now we are going to move on to quadratic formula. This is something that you should have learned in Algebra 1, but you might be rusty on it. So if you need a refresher on the formula, again, a, b, and c come from your quadratic, and then you have negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So on this first example, I'm going to start by listing out what a, b, and c are. On the first one, I have 1 for a, 4 for b, and 1 for c. So those are the values I'm going to put into my formula here. And I'm able to go straight to doing that because this is in standard form. Everything's on the left. It's equal to 0. So negative b will be negative 4 plus or minus the square root of b squared. So that's going to be 4 squared minus 4 times a and c are both 1 all over 2a, 2 times 1. So now we just need to start simplifying. I usually look inside my square root first. So this is going to be negative 4 plus or minus. Inside my square root, I have 4 squared. That is 16. And then that's going to be minus 4 times 1 times 1. That was just going to be 4. All over 2 times 1 is 2. So looking back inside my square root, I have 16 minus 4, which is going to be 12. Now 12 unfortunately is not a perfect square, but we can simplify this and we're going to leave it in exact form. A factor of 12 that's a perfect square is 4. 4 times 3 specifically. So we can bring out the square root of 4, which is 2. 3 will stay inside. And now another thing I can do to simplify further is both the negative 4 and the 2 are divisible by 2, so I can divide them both by 2. Be very careful when you are simplifying with your denominator. If not both of the values on top are divisible or have a common factor, you cannot simplify. So negative 4 divided by 2 is going to be negative 2. 2 divided by 2 is just 1, so I have negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 3. So what that means is my two solutions are negative 2 plus the square root of 3 or negative 2 minus the square root of 3. I still have two solutions, and the plus or minus again means I'm either adding the square root of 3 or I am subtracting the square root of 3. All right, on to the next one. Before we can set up our formula, we need to move the 13 over by addition to put this in standard form. And now for this one, A is 4, B is 12, and C is positive 13. So putting that into my quadratic formula, that'll be negative 12 plus or minus the square root of 12 squared minus 4 times A, which is 4, times C, which is 13, all over 2A, so 2 times 4. So again, looking inside my radical, I'm going to have negative 12 plus or minus the square root of 12 squared is 144. Then minus 4 times 4 times 13, that's 16 times 13, which is 208. All over 2 times 4 is 8. Again, simplifying inside my radical still, 144 minus 208 is negative 64. Now I have a negative inside of a radical, which tells me that we are going to end up with an imaginary solution here. So if I were to rewrite this in terms of I, that negative or square root of negative 64 will be 8i. So I have negative 12 plus or minus 8i over 8. And again, this can be simplified further because 12 and 8 both have a common factor with 8, and that is 4. So we can divide everything by 4. Negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. 8 divided by 4 is 2, so 2i, and 8 divided by 4 is also 2. So we have two solutions, negative 3 plus 2i divided by 2, and negative 3 minus 2i divided by 2. Those are our solutions. Again, we still have two of them. The plus or minus means you are either adding or subtracting to get your two answers. All right, let's do a little more practice with our quadratic formula, just for good measure. Moving on to C, I need to move over that 177. So I'm going to subtract it. Sorry, it's 117, not 177. Okay, so for this one, A is 2 B is negative 5, and C is negative 117. So x is equal to negative b, so that's going to be negative of negative 5, so that will become positive, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is negative 117, all over 2 times a. Okay, so again, we had that double negative, so that means this is going to become positive 5, plus or minus the square root of negative 5 squared is 25. Then we have negative 4 times 2 times negative 117. Those two negatives tell me that this will turn positive, and that's going to be positive 936 all over, I went further than I need to here, 2 times 2 is 4. So continuing on to simplify inside that radical, we're going to have 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 plus 936 is 961, which is a perfect square. And the square root of 961 is 31. So this is going to be 5 plus or minus 31 over 4. So what that means is we are going to have 5 plus 31 over 4 or 5 minus 31 over 4. So this is going to give us two rational solutions. Well, 5 plus 31 is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9. And then 5 minus 31 is a negative 26. Negative 26 over 4 does not evenly divide, but I could simplify it to negative 13 over 2. And there are the two solutions. Okay, we'll finish D, and then I will record the rest in a second part. I am just going to move the x squared to the right so that it stays positive and keep everything else where it is. So A is 1, B is negative 8, C is negative 84. So again, negative b, because b is negative, that will become positive value. Plus or minus the square root of negative 8 squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. Again, double negative, that will become positive 8. Negative 8 squared is 64. Negative 4 times 1 times negative 84, again, that will become positive, and that is going to be 336. Again, I went too far with that radical. All divided by 2. So that is 8 plus or minus the square root of 400 over 2. That is a perfect square. The square root of 400 is 20. So that's going to be 8 plus or minus 20 over 2. So what that means is 8 plus 20 divided by 2. Or 8 minus 20 divided by 2. 8 plus 20 is 28. 28 divided by 2 is 14. 8 minus 20 is negative 12. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. And there are the two solutions. Okay, I will continue the rest in a second video.